Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast and what we're calling lunch date.
Yeah, lunch with Mike and Max.
Catching up. So by the nature of a recording schedule and both of us sort of being in different places.
Around the world.
Yeah. We haven't really had a chance to catch up. And because of the way our shows are laid out, we're not really going to get to do this off the opening of our next episode.
And by the time we would be able to talk about it, things would feel a little dated.
That's
so
right.
We just want to have a chance to get it out there.
So we're just throwing this out there. There's no feature guest today. It's just Max and I.
Little lunch date.
That's right. So a lot's been going on. Max, you were actually recently on vacation in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Where a lot of stuff went down that we'll get to. And maybe we'll start there.
Yeah, the two things really are, I kind of want to talk about Barcelona being there. And you were at Coldplay concert.
I did go to a Coldplay concert.
So two very different things. So, yeah, I was on vacation, like a little 6-day vacation. I met up with Lauren, who was there doing her Euro trip. And we went to Nice first, which was beautiful. And then we went to Barcelona.
Yeah.
And it's my first time being in Barcelona. I'd never been to the southern part of Europe. And it really lived up to the billing. And we were staying in a neighborhood called Gracias. You've been there before.
I have been.
And Gracias is about the equivalent of, in my mind, Kensington Market in Toronto. So it's a little bit north of the downtown. And it's a beautiful old neighborhood. It's very vibrant. And the morning, we got there Sunday night. And we woke up the next morning to all these explosions happening. And it turns out there's a street festival kicking off.
Oh.
And there's all this activity. There's a drum circle going on. There's there's a lot of like street art. And there's like a massive like dragon with like smoke coming out of its ears, like being carried down the street, like a constructed dragon. Obviously dragons aren't real. And
only in my imagination and heart.
Yeah. So we ended up being in the middle of this beautiful, vibrant neighborhood in the middle of their annual festival. So it's like, imagine if you're from Toronto, like Pedestrian Sunday in Kensington Market, or if you're from Hamilton, you are going to see Supercurl or something like that. It's just the streets are packed.
You didn't expect this.
We just didn't expect. And it was funny, the first night that we were there, I was like, is this the way? I didn't even really know it was a street festival. It didn't really totally come together. I was like, is this the way like people in Barcelona just hang out every single night? Like, so the streets are packed. Every restaurant at the front of the restaurant had mojito and sangria stations set up. So you just could like walk down the boulevard, you can drink in the streets, you could get yourself a sangria or pop into the supermarket, have a beer and carry on. And, the temperament of the locals, when it comes to them drinking in the streets is much different than like the yahoos, in New Orleans or Vegas or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, people just are a lot more cool there. So I was sort of enthralled by the city, and we walked around. You're counting your Fitbit, and you're up to 30,000 steps every day. We went to another local beach about 40 minutes down the road one day.
A lot of toplessness on those beaches?
There was a lot of toplessness on those beaches.
I recall from my time in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy walks up and down the beach and he goes, cerveza,
agua,
Fanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pull out your €1, grab a Fanta.
Exactly.
It's the life, man.
Yeah, it was really a kind of magical place. It kind of had like the sort of like cleanliness and sort of general affluence of Northern Europe, but on the Mediterranean. So I got a text from you on I think it was Wednesday. I'm going to pull it up right now. See what day of the week it is. It was Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Are you in Barcelona? Because you didn't know I was.
I didn't actually know where you were going. We save everything for the pod, Max.
Are you in Barcelona? I'm just going to read some of this text.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
I love La Rambla. I stayed in a hostel, private room. I don't know why you had to tell me that it was a private room. That you were a bit of a baller or something?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. right in the heart of the street. I met an American Marine on leave from duty, and we got smashed every night.
You read the whole thing.
Okay, I'll read the whole thing.
Just to preface it, I was single at the time. I'd newly been dumped. It was like 2007, and I've never actually told the story in the pod. Maybe I'll tell it another time.
You've told the story to your group of friends.
About a million times.
About a million times. But basically, the yogurt and water.
I was living on yogurt and water, and basically to get out of my funk, I was going to literally, this is a very long story. I won't tell it, but essentially I was heartbroken, and to get out of my funk, a mentor of mine was like, you've never actually been on a real vacation. And he's like, I'm sending you to Europe. So basically, I took out a line of credit and I just went to Europe for 18 days.
Yeah.
I went all over England, Barcelona, Malaga. And anyway, so this was on that trip while I was by myself, just making random friends every night.
Not to throw Danica under the bus, but she's the woman who broke your heart.
That's right.
But who's now your wife.
Yeah.
Who you attended a Coldplay concert with last night. So all things worked out.
It'll come together.
Yeah, it'll all come together. So anyway, I'll carry on with your text. You sent me a long text. I was sort of delighted by it. So We got smashed every damn night I was there. One night there was a weird party thrown by a beautiful Dutch model and her androgynous boyfriend. They were eating apples on beanbag chairs.
It's true.
I'll add parenthetically. And another night there were these obnoxious British girls me and the Marine worked in tandem to hook up with. The Marine completed his mission. I was so drunk on €1 street beers, I passed out when we got back to their hotel. Him and I agreed I would make a terrible Marine. Anyway, I was reading the Game of Thrones book at the time, brackets A Clash of Kings to be exact. So I would party all night, sleep until 2 p.m. every day, wake up, go get a fresh fruit, and read my book to cure the hangovers. God, that was a fun trip. Hope you're having fun. So that's kind of...
Well, when I saw your snaps and all that of you in Barcelona on La Rambla, I was like, oh my God, like I love that street. And anyway.
So it was... it lived up to the magic for me in a slightly different way because I was there on a slightly more romantic trip. So I responded, amazing text. 2, I love Barcelona. 3, we'll save it for the pod. And 4, I'll try to find a Marine and some British chicks, which I found neither. But anyway, so we were at the beach on Thursday. It was our final day. And the beach is very close to the downtown. You can kind of walk from the beach right to La Rambla in about 15 minutes. And I got a couple tweets from our Kells fans saying, hey, man, are you okay? And they posted this thing that had happened in Barcelona. And
well, here's the thing. So, like, everything we're saying that's so lovely about La Rambla and Barcelona is obviously overshadowed. Anyone listening to this leads to sort of the tragic events that happened. So you're getting a couple texts.
So I'm getting a couple tweets.
Tweets, sorry.
And these are our Kells fans that are on the internet and had just seen that because the first report was a car hit some pedestrians, a couple pedestrians, and that's all that anyone knew about at the time. And so I was like, oh. So I tweeted back, yeah, I'm okay. I looked around, everyone seemed to be just tanning and minding their own business. But I said to Lauren, I was like, we should just text our parents just in case they happen to see the same report. We'll let them know that we're fine. Anyway, with every passing, 10 minutes, there was a new report. Okay, 1 dead and 5 people injured. Okay, 2 dead, 12 people injured. And so we start kind of getting spooked. And there was, after about 25 minutes, they said, this is a terrorist attack. And then I start looking around on the beach, and everybody's kind of looking at their phone. And in Barcelona, it's different. The culture is different there. People are kind of taking in...
Their pace is different. They're not tethered to their electronic devices.
Exactly.
They're actually enjoying life.
Yeah, but I'm kind of looking around, and everybody's sort of on their phone. And I don't know if it's just I'm making this up, but there was a sense of gloom kind of in the air. I said to Lawrence, maybe we should head back to the hotel. This is kind of getting a little strange. So we kind of walked the long way around, so we didn't go anywhere near La Rambla. And we're just on Twitter, just updating. And there were some fake reports that like the gunman had taken people hostage in a restaurant, and there was a gunman on the loose. But the way back we took back to the hotel was through a very busy part of town, right in the heart of the downtown in these narrow streets. Which, yesterday at that time would have been packed. But then it became very eerie, and there was probably about 1/10 of the amount of people on the streets as there was the day before at the same time. And everybody who's on the street, though, was kind of depressingly looking at their phone. And it was such a surreal day to experience a terrorist attack.
Did you have a sense of like fear for your own safety or dread? Because, he did get loose.
You know what? It was, I think if we didn't scare ourselves into we need to hide in this bar with everybody else or something, but we did notice there was a helicopters like hovering above. Yeah, there was a bit of that, but we figured, this is a pretty big city. What are the chances we'll run into a gunman on the street? But we did sort of walk quickly back to the hotel.
Yeah.
But it's sort of just put into context because, there have been a lot of terrorist attacks all around the world, and especially lately in Europe. And you do feel in North America somewhat removed from them. You hear about it happen, you go, oh, that's terrible. Or maybe I know somebody who lives in that city, and you check up and you carry on with your day. But it was a very surreal experience. And just to feel a city that is, especially in the summer, Barcelona, that is so much about being outside and being away from your phone and just sort of enjoying the spirit of the city.
And it's such a vacation city too. It's a destination where people are out in the streets, on the beach.
Yeah, and then to feel just the switch get hit, and then nobody's in the street and everybody's looking at their phone. And they, the kind of, not to make it about yourself, but the previous day we were at that very location. I was sitting on a cafe waiting for Lauren to finish shopping, and right at a cafe where the La Rambla starts. So basically where the car entered, or the van entered, was basically where I would have been sitting. So it was just a very surreal day. And it makes me want to go back to Barcelona though, to like reclaim, to like finish the trip off right, because the city is so magical, as you know.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, the whole point of terror is to make you second guess doing things like sitting, on a patio in a cafe, like on La Rambla or something like that. And Danica and I were talking about this when the bombing happened in Manchester, because her sister was in Europe at the time and they were heading to Manchester like the next day or something. So, she reached out to her sister and we just kind of got in a philosophical conversation about, do you not go to Manchester, or do you not go to these places? And Danica's like, I totally wouldn't feel comfortable going to those places after an event. And I said, maybe I'm naive, but if anything, it's like I'm sticking to my plans, because the minute you start changing things, that's when terror wins. Like, that's sort of the point, is to make you second guess sort of living your life and going to concerts and enjoying these things. So to your point, it's like, yeah, I'd go right back to Barcelona.
Well, Brent,
do you think that's naive?
No, I mean, I that's the thing. It's like you're sort of like, what's the alternative? I guess the alternative staying home, and that alternative stinks, right? Like,
yeah.
And Brent, Lauren's dad, texted back after she texted him, "Hey, just want to let you know we're safe." He texted back, "Well, the only thing you can do right now is carpe diem the hell out of those fuckers," or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, that's kind of profound in its own way. Just like, you got to keep living. But it does, yeah. I mean, this is a whole other conversation, but it does make you think of like, okay, how do these cities protect their citizens from this kind of thing happening? Because the old car into a crowd of people seems to be very easy to pull off. But I will say this, one of the nicest things was how many people reached out and were texting me after it came on the news.
The Champagne Boys group?
The Champagne Boys checked in. A lot of people on Twitter and, even people I don't even know that well were checking in. And one thing I will say is, like the first 3 people who texted me?
Who?
My Puck Bunny friends.
The hockey guys.
The hockey guys. Nursey, Gadzik, Tyson Berry. So they texted me before the band did. I don't know.
How long until you add them to the Champagne Boys group? They're going to be in the message group by tomorrow, aren't they?
Be, yeah.
That's hilarious. Just in the fact that it's like, these hockey players, you just think they're bros and dudes, but big hearts.
They were worried. Paul Coffey texted me.
Really?
He was worried. Well, you know what? His wife and daughter were in Barcelona too.
Oh, shit.
So he definitely had his mind on that as well. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I thought just wanted to fill you in on the experience of that, because it's definitely like nothing like I've ever experienced, luckily. Yeah.
And hopefully you never have to experience again, or anyone does.
Knock on wood, yeah.
But glad to have you back.
Yeah. So that's what I've been up to. Tell me about the Coldplay concert, because I saw a lot of Insta stories last night.
Was I overposting?
No, not at all. No, not at all.
I never know how much to share on the old socials.
No, I think generally the more the merrier. There is a fine line. If you're up to 20 a day, then I'd stop. But
yeah, not my style, really.
But and I was texting a friend who was there and who's been to many shows, and said it was the best production he's ever seen.
Max, so I'm telling you. Okay, so it's an arena show. This is a stadium show, not an arena show. Like the ACC's an arena.
Yeah, small
Skydome. Skydome is a stadium, and I saw you two there a few years ago, like half decade or something. And I got to say, like the first number, fireworks, debris, like it looked like, like it looked like Saving Private Ryan. It was like outrageous and like exhilarating. And I was like, wow, they're not holding back. Like they're going for it. And the thing about Coldplay and Chris Martin is it's like they put so much thought into what their stage show is going to be, the experience for the fan. Like they might be one of the most thoughtful bands ever. They're like, when we go into a city, if people are going to pay this much for tickets and fight through traffic, and even said this sort of in a stage banter, he's like, we want you to have a great time. Like whether you're like 12 or 75, like you realize how much it matters. So overall,
love that.
Amazing show. Like we danced our asses off. I drank like 3 of those massive Budweisers. $45 later, big smile on my face.
I heard Danica was crying from Fix You. Her nose was red.
She was. Well, Dan's mom passed away a while ago, and that was the song that we played at the funeral. We carried the casket out to that, which is, so it was a very emotional moment during the concert for both of us, but for her, obviously, especially. And that's the thing about Coldplay's music is I think like it's so emotional, a lot of it, and it's so anthemic, which I think is by design. But what I was thinking, and Danica and I talked about this on the way home about Coldplay and Chris Martin in general, is I was looking around and, there's 50,000 people and everyone's got the wristbands and lights are going, and it's spectacular. It's so visceral and this amazing experience. But I started thinking about like Coldplay and Chris Martin, like sort of in like the canon of rock musicians and him as a frontman and the idea of what's cool. Because, and maybe this is an antiquated idea of what's cool, but like Chris Martin and Coldplay aren't cool.
No.
which maybe it's a silly argument because it's so subjective, whatever cool is. But in the traditional sense of like a swaggering rock, you know, like Axl Rose shows up 40 minutes late for a show, Oasis walks on, plays their set and walks off, you know, and just by the nature of him caring so much is kind of the antithesis of what we think cool is. So I started thinking about like what you get out of a Coldplay concert and whether or not it matters. Because I'm like, this was like, it was full of joy, you know? And I was like, it was almost like teetered into Christian rock in a sense where it's like, what are we getting out of this communal experience? And it's so affirmational and he just wants to make you feel good. But what is like rock music? What are our frontmans? And does it even matter if Chris Martin like kind of straddles that line? And Danica's point was actually, I think it's cool that he doesn't care if he's dad rock or he's there for the kids or there like, what do you think about the ideas of that? I mean, you might have really personal thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, there's, I do have a lot of thoughts on this. And the first thing is that and this is something our longtime booking agent Jack Ross said to me, there's some bands that play to the crowd, and there's some bands that play for their band buddies standing side stage.
Oh, great line.
And the bands that only play for their buddies standing side stage and worry about being cool or how they're going to be perceived by, you know, their peers are the ones that most of the time don't go that far, actually, in terms of like reaching a lot of people. But for the bands that really care about, you know, the mom who paid $140 for a ticket and had to fight through traffic, they're the ones that ultimately reach a lot more people. And obviously, to each their own. If you aspire to have a very particular kind of aesthetic, that all the power to you. But if you again like have that ambition and you care about every little detail to like for the experience of a person attending your show, then you're gonna be someone who's more like Bono or Chris Martin. And again, by virtue of that, you're not going to be that as cool, but I think you could impact more people with your art and your songs. So I personally and maybe this is all just kind of comes down to personality types. I really admire Chris Martin and Bono for being as earnest as they are. And I know both those guys get killed a lot by the cool kids for being lame or being tryhards. But to me, it's like, I don't know, I'd rather have somebody who gives a shit than somebody who, you know, is only concerned about looking cool. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like what do we want out of like our art, our music, our frontman? Do you want someone that's super damaged? Is that interesting? Maybe to a certain segment, but maybe that's an antiquated idea of what a rock star is or an artist in that sense.
Totally. And again, I can go to a show and like that kind of show and appreciate sort of like the pompous rock guy or the guy who shows up late. There's something to me that's also interesting about that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to a show at the Sky Dome, you want a guy who's going to bring everybody in. That's what makes Springsteen so good. That's what makes Bono so good. Is because they genuinely care. And the other thing is, you know, Bono gets killed when he falls on his face. But I was like, look, if you're going to be a guy that's that ambitious, sometimes you're going to fall on your face sometimes. And you can't hit a home run every time. But
well, that's the risk in trying.
That's the risk in trying. So it's like the same guy who writes, you know, Where the Streets Have No Name or Beautiful Day is the same guy who thinks, well, I think it'd be pretty cool if we just like put our songs in everyone's iPhone. And he got killed for that, right? But it's like it comes from the same place. It's that old adage, like the thing that makes you great is also your biggest weakness as well.
Sure.
So, but I appreciate those guys trying. And the other thing I'll say about Coldplay specifically is that they are a rock band and they started off as a rock band, but it is very difficult to be a rock band in 2017.
Sure.
You know, especially when you're competing against, you know, everything else going on in the music culture. And the fact that they've sort of evolved, and not that I'm personally favored about every evolution of Coldplay on a personal level, but the fact they've been able to sustain themselves and do 2 nights at the Sky Dome, and so they can do like stadiums in markets all around the world is a testament to them going, okay, how do we stay at the top? And you could look at that as a crass calculation, or you could look at that as like, you know, I'm competitive and I want to, you know, reach as many people, and there's fun in the creativity of going after that. You know, there's joy in like, okay, how do we do it? And as a result, they patented the technology of the wristband that you guys wore that lights up the whole thing. They own that.
So the Budweiser things you guys did.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's in a cup, but the specific wristband
is their thing. That's crazy. And you know what? I mean, to your point about Coldplay, it's not just the cold pursuit of success.
No.
He has this platform and he's using it literally just to bring joy to people.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he comes by it really honestly. Like you can't put on that kind of show.
Great point. Authenticity.
Yeah, without by faking it. And so I think like when he collaborates or when Coldplay collaborates with, you know, the Chainsmokers or earlier with Kanye West, I think he's genuinely interested in like what's going on in pop music, and you know, and he's not like, no, I need to make my rock record.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't make a rock record, I'd be selling out or being insincere or something.
Well, if he is a little bit too saccharine or like love and peace and sort of whatever, I think he does come by it authentically. Yeah. I think that's who he is. I think if he was an accountant, he'd be that guy that everyone likes at the office.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and that's another thing I'll say about Chris Martin is that I feel like on one hand, when I think about Chris Martin, it's like he's just a normal bloke who's just like, has sort of just kind of happened to come out on top, and sort of you run in the street, he'd just be like a really sweet normal guy. And then when you think about it, it's like, wait a second, this guy's been playing arenas for 16 years. He was married to Gwyneth Paltrow. He hangs out with Jay-Z. He's like, no, he's actually on a complete other level. He's not
totally
a normal guy at all.
He's sneakily ambitious. He's insanely ambitious.
Yeah.
You know, he's incredibly talented, but it's like you don't get where he gets without seeing the whole board.
Well, that's the thing, and I think that like, I wonder if he gets a little annoyed that he's not put in that sort of like slightly genius category, because everyone just thinks of him as this affable British guy. But we're like, wait a second, no, this guy has like more hits and has accomplished more than literally just about anybody in his generation. Period.
Are you going to go to the show tonight? You should find yourself tickets, man.
Really?
I'm not kidding, man.
Oh, Dan.
Webmaster Dan walked in about 5 minutes ago and he is shaking his head at him. He was at the show last night.
Man, I wonder how I could get. Okay, I'm gonna
talk to the nut.
I will.
All right. So has that been our lunch?
That's been our little lunch date.
Was it a good lunch?
I love this lunch date.
Let's do more of these.
I love it.
All right. See you next week if we don't die on the weekend.